Just let it run. That's it going. Okay. Right, we've got another tech problem with you, Martin. It says it's not recorded. You've stopped recording. I think you've stopped altogether now. Fantastic. Martin, if you can hear us, refresh.
Excellent.
Stand
Look
by.
at him. He's completely froze just as we went live.
It's just a
If
smile,
you can,
though. You know, it's a nice smile.
yeah, it's a very
Whose turn is it
thoughtful look.
to monitor the communications array? What's going on down there?
Yeah.
Report.
Martin, open hailing frequencies.
Great.
Refresh, Martin. It's something. Oh, jeez. Oh, we've lost Martin again. I think we'll... All right. Now he's back. Martin, say something, please. This is definitely getting cut out, all of this. Well, I see... Martin, are you there? I don't think it's working for you, Martin. We're just going to have to carry on, and if you can make it in, you can make it in. I'm sure myself and Ree can handle this. All right. Okay.
At least that's a malevolent expression to have when frozen. Could have been worse.
Yeah, I was going to say, it could be worse. He's got a nice smile, you know?
Yeah. Could have been like...
Yeah.
He could be literally just like, what? In fact, if we do that for long enough, maybe it'll make him feel included, like we're all a bit...
We'll come back and roll like that. No, that'll probably mess with his head a bit.
Yeah.
Right,
Excellent.
I'll just get this thing started, and we'll see if we have any luck with Martin.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Hi, everyone, and welcome to OCAST, your island gateway to all things geek. I am your host, Callum MacDonald, and joining me tonight for the very first time in any podcast of any form, and Rhiannon, how are you doing?
Hi there. Thank you so much for having me. It's also, I'd like to say as well, full disclosure, whilst I was raised with Star Trek, I'm like a baby Trekkie here. So I'm so happy to be here and be part of the conversation.
All right, and we almost had him there, but we have like a Q entity that keeps popping in and out in the shape of Martin. So he might join us, he might not. We'll see. We'll see what happens here. But today we're very fortunate to have a very special guest with. We are joined by Kennedy Allen, like a well-known voice in the Star Trek fandom, one of the co-founders, I believe, of the Woman in War podcast, a podcast that looks at issues of feminism and inclusion within Star Trek fandom. And Martin, I'm echoing now.
Is it just me that you were losing?
Yes. And just right in the middle of my intro there for Kennedy.
That's all right. I'm just glad you're here, Martin. Hi, everybody.
Hi. After that, yeah.
I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having me. Tapalev Ershamo Bichan. Is that more appropriate? Am I Lauren Guelga, so bear with me. And even that's, not a lot.
All right. And I suppose we'll just get the introductory question. So when did you get the Star Trek bug? Was it from early on, or was it later on in life?
Jeez, it was very early on. My mom is a huge Star Trek and other sci-fi and horror nerd. So I grew up going to conventions, she saw Trek when she was like on her 10th birthday specifically, and saw Nichelle Nichols for the first time and was completely inspired. She got her degree in communications, was a local television producer, the whole schmear, and would make sure that I came up in it. So I don't think of them as costumes. It's not cosplay. You're in uniform. You're on duty. You know what I mean? Polish those boots.
I feel like, was it the Respect Podfest in 2019 where you were talking about that and just said that, like, the next generation, like, raised you? Like, that was...
Yeah, that was the one that I started with. That's the one I remember, right? Mm-hmm. So she had on TOS when I was an infant. So there was always, like, that. The score always feels like a very fundamental part of my inner soundtrack, I guess, my inner score. But yeah, TNG was the one I was raised on. DS9, I knew was cool, but it was too over my head to really get. But, I was watching because Sirach Lofton. And then the Dominion War really popped off. So it just got compelling, but I knew at that time it was a little over my head. Voyager was the one that I really connected with. It was my preteen, Voyager, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, like that whole vibe was very formative for me. Enterprise, I had to develop an appreciation for, because Enterprise.
And it's a long road. It's a long road as well.
But it's been a long road getting from
That has that
there
all
to
from
here.
here to here.
And we just kind of go from there. I started podcasting in 2011 with a show called Black Tribbles. Even though we were Trek in name, we were a geek at large podcast that talked about all types of, geek culture through the lens of the Black perspective. Won a few awards, it was cool. And that lasted for 10 years. However, I gotta say that I was not a founder of Women at Warp. I joined in year 6 for that.
Is it like 2020? I feel like I saw a post in sort of 2020 in the summer saying that you were joining as like a full-time member of the team.
So I guested with them. We've done a couple of panels, like me and Sue. Yeah. We had done a couple of panels previously, but joining them was just first of all, what a well-oiled machine. If you want things to get done, put women and femme presenting people at the helm, because it's going to get done. It was such a nurturing, structured, and for, a neurospicy brain, that structure can be daunting, but this was gentle and made sense. So there was no, it was just
didn't feel like there was that kind of competition against it. It was like, just let it be.
And it was such a beautiful, make it so, engage, Engage. It was such a welcome transition from being in a primarily male-dominated space, and having to, for years I was the only woman on that show. So I really had to assert my point of view and my experiences, not because they were toxic individuals, but, toxic attachments can be formed to certain things, socially speaking, that if you don't have a well-rounded group around you, you're never going to be checked on that stuff. So I found myself having to be the one to check these well-meaning people on very serious things from time to time. So to step into a room of all women and femme-presenting individuals and not have to worry about that was just like, thank God. And it was just what I needed, because I don't know if you all know about this, but those people in the comments, they hate everything, and they're just intent on ruining everybody else's day as well. And it really came to a head with Discovery. And I will be the first person to admit I was part of the problem. I was like, why are we going back in time? Spock never had a sibling. What is going on? Mushroom Drive, get out of here. It wasn't interested. And it wasn't until the quarantine that I had an opportunity to sit down and watch it. I also wasn't getting CBS All Access for one show. So I came in right when the second season had ended and was floored by the lore, the world building. Sonequa Martin.
Blown away.
I'm trying to wash my mouth because it's Captain Michael Mother Effin Burnham. That's her full name.
Legally.
Just, you must say the whole thing.
Legal
otherwise
name.
It's like a pimp named Slickback. You can't just say, you have to say the whole thing. A title more than a name.
An honorific.
Yeah, and I learned that, I was wrong in everything that I had dug my heels in, and really kind of abandoned that nostalgic fandom parasocial ego that I think a lot of us have.
Yes, I think it's nice to kind of sit with that and deconstruct how you feel about these things as well, because you know what, and actually Star Trek not only welcomes that, but I think encourages many sort of points where, I remember I was listening to a couple of episodes of Women at Warp, and people were saying about the good stuff and also the negative stuff, that you can pick out a bit of both. But the good stuff, it does give the opportunity for this kind of developing conversation and, kind of deconstructing things that we, even as a fan base, have probably kind of come to understand and feel like we've got dead set on. It's like, actually, no, we can keep growing. We can keep getting better.
If you watch not just science fiction, right, but this show, franchise, this property in particular, how anyone who watches this and can hold on to a closed mindset, at this point, it's just intentional, malicious ignorance. Because what do you mean? What do you mean?
What do you mean? I think there was one thing that I know Callum had been talking about, and you were saying about sort of allyship within the
Mm-hmm.
community, and then he's sort of saying that how can fans and possibly male fans be better allies to women in the community. And I actually posed this question to my fiance, and they kind of touched on it being like, well, you know, it's to being receptive and not condescending. And I thought about that instance where people talk about band t-shirts, right? And they go, okay, how many Nirvana songs do you know? And it's like, no. Like, you just got to let people live, and you've got to let people kind of go through that and experience it, and, you know, and continue to expand and not step on our own toes for no reason. Like,
right. There's a difference between preserving a cultural identity and gatekeeping. And I feel like that nuance is something that a lot of folks struggle with. And unfortunately, I do see it you see it in fandom at large because human beings, but you also see it in Star Trek and in Discovery, I think in particular, acts as a vehicle to flush out the bigots. Like, you post anything Discovery related, I guarantee you there will be anywhere between 5 and 28 cishet white men who are butthurt that they don't have centered representation on the show, and they're going to come up with a litany. It's almost like a script. It's like a script.
Oh,
Like,
I've
all
seen
these
it. I've read
same
it.
things about what they hate about it. And it's just like, just say you hate seeing Black women and queer people in positions of power and go. Just say it and go. You can admit it to yourself. All of us can move on. Like, it's like, just, what are we doing?
If they need to say that out loud and sit with that themselves, then that's, you know, they can do that kind of almost also in their own time, because like this space is held for all the good stuff. You know what I mean? Like, this is held for the love and the progress. And I mean, I know a couple of episodes touched even on like the things like that Star Trek has inherently helped. This sort of the ripple effect. I think you at one point yourself mentioned like even just technology. Like, I remember watching the J.J. Abrams versions, which actually kind of reinvigorated my childhood love for Star Trek, actually. And everything in the ships was white, and I couldn't help but think like that was like Apple influenced, right?
For sure.
You think you can even have like little things like this. Imagine like you just, if you see this negativity online and that's what you associate, that's what you're going to think about it. Whereas actually, if we can just continue to expand the positivity, the representation, all the good stuff, like, that's what it should be about.
And just grow, like, to seek out new worlds and new civilizations, to boldly go where no one has gone before.
It's inherently in the message. Like you've got to be prepared for that ripple effect is going to carry on going out there. Like, it's going to keep doing it. That's the point. I just want
to know, like, how many Ks are in the Star Trek that they're watching? Because I feel like they might have gotten a bootleg or some type of weird, you know, cable access, clan member, weird, you know, a manifesto. I don't know. I genuinely have no idea.
Out, like, as a monthly subscription.
Literally anything is possible, because I don't understand how we can watch the same thing
and get such different,
and you walk away with this.
Yeah, totally.
It's very frustrating. And it's also, you know, it can wear on you for a while. I've been podcasting for almost 15 years now. Like, it gets exhausting battling ignorance in the comments. And and I'm sure you all, if you haven't discovered this already, you soon will, that once you start building momentum and grow more visibility, you're going to attract the bots, which are sometimes hard to distinguish from actual humans. And then you'll get the actual humans that are awful as well. So, like, you really have to hold space for your own human piece and determine who you want to interact with in these instances, because it can distract from the joy of the content, right? We're all here because we like the same thing.
Yeah.
And it can be kind of, you really have to figure out for yourself whatever that balance is that doesn't, you know, disrupt your inherent love for a thing. Because I definitely ruined Star Trek for myself for a second.
Can I just say thank you for doing this for the last 15 years and like keeping, you know, like genuinely on behalf. Thank you for helping to protect that space.
Thank you.
That must, you know, to have to feel like you fight in so many corners on something that you love, like, why should you do you know what I mean? Like, no one should have to do that, but you have done that, and thank you for doing that within our community. It means a lot to many people.
Thank you. I really appreciate you saying that. Truly, I went to a convention back in May and sat in on a little piece of a panel that it was like a one-woman show essentially, and she was talking about feminism and seeing it through Star Trek and seeing how Star Trek got it right and got it wrong in so many instances.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm not going to put my age out there, but she was significantly younger than me. And everything she was saying is stuff that I had either personally said or things that we have all said collectively within conversation. And just to see somebody younger than me, like that much younger than me, be on the right path, I was like, kids are all right.
It's like, and it's so funny. Let's actually say the kids are all right. I don't, not that I've been completely deep diving into everything you're talking about, but I believe you actually wrote an article that was titled like Star Babies a couple of years ago, where you used the phrase "the kids are all right," and it was about. So yeah, I know this is. I'm sorry, I've been doing like a bit of a research deep dive, but you said, and it was like at the end of it, and you're like, "The kids are all right," and I was like, you know what? That is really nice because it has spanned generation. And so in this, you were talking about sort of the individuals like Chekhov and Nog, and Jake Sisko and people that have kind of risen above or risen with or risen to challenges that have been provided by sort of social constructs within their lives. But I thought that it was really nice that you were like, actually, you know what? It's this is a thing that has spanned generations and it will continue. It's going to continue to do that, and that's a really powerful thing. And that I'm glad that you've been able to see possibly the impact of people like yourself and other people that actually there are people that are out there going, yeah, this is what it's for. This like in the best way. Like you're seeing that come up through the ranks.
Yeah,
come up through the uniform, come up through the ranks. It is
gratifying in ways that you cannot put a price on that. You know what I mean? Like it's invaluable. Particularly when you're like me and you've gotten to a point in your life where you're just kind of wore out and you just want to, enjoy it again for yourself and not for a group or a brand, and represent yourself, not a group or brand. To prevent fatigue, or rather to, how do I say this?
You got to keep your cup like full for yourself, like, or else you can't give.
It was getting to a point where it felt like work, and we were all doing this for fun. So it really shouldn't feel like work if we're all doing this for funsies, right? But it just, as that fatigue was starting to really settle in and we decided to end Women at Warp on a 10-year note, that was the first convention that I had done. I mean, we still had a panel, but we weren't tabling. Like I wasn't working the event. And it was nice to just kind of like hang back and go to do things at your own leisure. And just like falling into that panel was so like I had to go upstairs and take a moment because I was all emotional. Just like hearing this person I don't know, probably didn't listen to the show, may have listened to the show. You never really know. But just be in their element and speak nothing but truth in this truly masterful way. I'm blanking on this person's name and I feel bad because they had on this immaculate Yeoman Rand cosplay. Like the hair, everything was perfect.
Chef's kiss.
Yeah, just perfect.
Couldn't have done more.
I was so proud of a person that I had never met before in my life. And it was just like
really beautiful,
immensely gratifying to know that, because in certain struggles, especially socially, and as far as like justice is concerned, one can't always lay down the mantle. Some battles are perpetually uphill, they're perpetually difficult, and they can be taxing on one's determination. So,
at the end of the day, it's got to stay something that if Star Trek is something that fills you up, right, and it gives you this hope and it gives you this joy, like sometimes it's okay to to take a little step to take that time for your own peace. And actually, it's a case of it's not even sort of like passing the mantle or the flame on to like others that are kind of maybe they are in the position where they can do that right now, and you can have a little bit of well-earned rest, a little bit of protection for yourself. I don't think and 10 years that's a long time, especially attending events and panels and being in the public eye as someone who is holding that flame. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, it is.
Again, we thank you for doing that.
Incredible effort.
Thank you
really
for listening. Like that's the thing, because you can get a group together and talk about a thing that you love till you're blue in the face. But if no one's listening, if no one's participating in the conversation, then run the risk of it being like an echo chamber, which is no fun for anybody unless you're, that's how your idealisms thrive. I don't know. I can't relate.
Yeah.
But as so it was interesting what you said there about when you had to be that one voice in the room, and I've just had that experience, but in reverse. And I've got to say a big thank you to Madeline, who Rhiannon. Like, she was the one that came up to me and said, "Your podcast is pretty male dominated," and good on, she made me aware of it, and I'm working on it now. I've got Rhiannon involved. I've got some other women. I'm like, yep, this has got to be a bit more balanced. That was me just falling into old habits, I guess, and just that person checked me, and I just took it on board. I didn't do what a lot of other men would have done in that situation, but yeah, that really rang through what you said there.
To be honest, it's even like, because as we were talking about that idea of like allyship, it's like actually just kind of being able to being an active ally is one of those things where you're not only just willing to call like other people out, you know what I mean? Like you see your friend doing something and you're like, hang on, mate, that's not actually that chill. Please don't speak like that in this space. But also being able to turn to yourself and going, hang on a sec, I could be doing more for this. Yeah. And that's really powerful. And I know that sort of we have, our side of the community have definitely felt that. And as I said, I'm delighted to be here. So
like you should be able to notice. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry, carry on. Sorry. I think it's a little delay, isn't it?
I just feel like that can be applied, that mentality can be applied to fandom as well, right? Like just citing that example about me learning about Discovery again. Like I had to check myself and get over the fact that, Star Trek still went on without me in the writer's room contributing to it, and me being immensely frustrated that a lot of my ideas are happening anyway without having any contact with anybody. So it's like, if we're on the same brainwave, you should hire me. But, since I'm actively trying to leave being in the media, like I'm just pivoting completely, I had to realize that was a me thing. It's one thing if something raises your haunches, right? If you get your feathers up and you sit there and think about why your feathers are up, if it's a them problem, keep the feathers up, peck their eyeballs out, right? But if it's a you problem, take a breath, realize where you're part of the problem, and then you can proceed from there because you have a more informed, outlook.
I think that just naturally also evolves like with age, and as well it's interesting obviously kind of from a fandom perspective, like let's say watching Star Trek as a child, then watching it as an adult, then watching it, like kind of you get these moments where I don't know about you guys, but like you start identifying with different people and different people's stories and different people's journeys, and then all of a sudden things that used to annoy me don't annoy me anymore because I have developed this compassion either for myself, which I didn't have before, or compassion for other people, which I've gone, oh, hang on a second, that's a big that, and you notice that you've corrected yourself and you've done that. I mean, I was thinking about I was listening to an episode actually that was about Detective Crusher. I think it was like episode 212, and Beverly never used to stand out to me as like
it took Sue. It literally took Sue for me to look at Bev as a fully realized person. Truly.
It's so interesting, isn't it? Because it's like so now having changed careers and I also work in healthcare and things like that, and so I'm in sort of that her universe, I guess, in a way. And seeing her being put into a perspective where it's like, okay, she's in the medical, she's in the sick bay, she's in the medical bay, she doesn't really, and she's kind of used as an opportunity for like alternate opinions and things like that. But actually what I noticed this time around was actually like the spinning plates that she's doing. Like when she kind of starts doing like, able to just step in and comprehend the other sciences, able to step in to the espionage, and like she's so multifaceted. And at first, when I first started seeing that, I was like, she's not all that. And I'm like, actually, she's really like, fighting for her space in that place. And it was so interesting because I didn't used to feel for her or kind of understand what was going on. And it's interesting, isn't it? Just like as another thing, like associating with different characters at different times and kind of correcting yourself on possibly like my own misogyny, like internalized misogyny and things like that I hadn't even imagined to sit with by that age, but that I do now. Like it's
for sure. Bev was one of them, so I definitely can relate. And another example I have is, feeling completely and utterly threatened by Seven of Nine and being like, who asked for Borg Barbie? And then learning not only what Jerry Ryan had to go through, but going
Yes, I've
back
heard.
and looking as an adult, at Seven, and what she went through, and realized that she'd been groomed her entire life, including Janeway. I just feel like we ought to be challenged by how we've been socialized when it comes to new and evolving things every day. You should be running up against walls that either were put in front of you or that you put there yourself, preventing you from perceiving things from other people's point of view. Every day, every person that you talk to, you should constantly be looking for that. And it wasn't until I was in a space with all women where I really got a chance to hear from not only other people's perspectives, but also everybody else's experiences in femininity is,
That's
crucial.
So important.
To understanding different things, right? Like Jerry Ryan's a beautiful woman. She's built the way she's built, and there's literally nothing she can do about that.
No.
So why do we reduce her to what her image is when Seven was not only, a victim until she joined the Fenris Rangers, point blank period. 2, she was also fucking brilliant, freaking brilliant. She was freaking brilliant.
But it's interesting, isn't it? Like how we kind of our ideals feel threatened by that, or even like our own experiences, and it's like sometimes it is uncomfortable, and actually then to be able to kind of see it back and be like, oh, actually that's a really interesting new take, and it just brings joy to that next time you watch it, that you go like, wow, I can see a different part of the vision now. And
I also
think,
feel like I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you please carry on.
I also feel like it the reason why it resonates with people. Sorry?
You're right.
Oh, carry on. Sorry. No, I was letting you carry on.
I just, etiquette, you learn to shut up when someone's starting because I hate talking over people. It challenges, basically, I think it all comes from a place of a construct of scarcity, right? If we're all socialized to think that if one person is excelling in a thing, that there's no room for anybody else to excel at the thing, especially not in their own way. So, this person becomes a focal point of envy, of resentment, of all these things that they can't help or change in any way. And people don't sit with that and think, oh, this is me projecting, or this is my interpretation of whatever is going on here. And I need to, basically, you can tell who stayed in the house during the quarantine and pulled tarot, sat with crystals, took baths, worked out, knitted, make bread, whatever, and who went out on vacation.
Yeah.
And, act as a spreader for all, for diseases. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can truly tell who learned to sit with themselves and learn to battle the things that they didn't have the time to confront before, and who didn't. I think
you're really right there. I think that, I mean, as I said, I work in healthcare and did so during the pandemic as well, and actually to watch
Thank you for your service.
Anytime. It's like, but to watch people and actually how much has changed in the last 5 years, like obviously, again, Star Trek goes through many different things, and you watch all these people pull together, and in the darkest moments, most people come through at the clinch and they want the best for humanity. And then to watch that almost happen in real time and maybe go in a different, and to see people who you wouldn't expect to go in such a different direction, you're like, did we all just see the same thing?
We were so close.
We were so close.
Yes,
we were so
getting
close. And it's just, I think that in itself, you just go, a shame. Like, it's a shame for some folks, and for others, actually, I got to see the absolute best. And you just go, wow. Like, there's some people that really took that and run with it, and for that, I'll always be so grateful. Like,
agreed.
100%.
I'm going to bring in Martin. You're either frozen or been waiting very patiently there to say something. It's hard to tell. Have you got a question there?
But yeah, my microphone's not working. I've been speaking the whole time, and you lot have just been blanking me. I've been waiting patiently. But first of all, I would like to say welcome to Kennedy, of course,
Thank
but
you.
also welcome to Rhiannon, because as you say, Cal, it's easy to not be as inclusive as we should be. I hate to even say as inclusive because it should just be the norm and not something that we're trying to make, an inclusive thing of. And but it's great. And when Kennedy mentioned there about Jerry Ryan, being basically groomed into that position because of her looks, and it reminded me of the Blondie song "Rip Her to Shreds." She's so tall, let's rip her to shreds with the pink mascara, all that kind of stuff. For no good reason other than she's been upheld to that what she's portraying, and if she was anything like that, it's because she's been made that way by this world.
Mhm.
I would like to say Jerry Ryan, awesome, but I've seen her at a couple of Comic Cons. Also,
She's phenomenal.
when you see talking about stereotypes and being groomed, I've watched a few of these reality programs. These kind of I don't know if you've seen Alone or Naked and Afraid, but these kind of things where celebrities are challenged, or even normal people are challenged to go and do these things. And very often there's a mod. There's like Mr. Mr. Ken, Barbie's boyfriend's doll, Mr. Action Man.
Oh,
and then
can't
there's a few other guys, and then there's like a woman who knows all about herbs and everything. She's gonna knock this. And quite often, or occasionally, there's somebody like a model, a female model, not male models for some reason, but a female model, and everybody thinks they're going to be out in a couple of days, and they're very quiet. And very often on these programs, they demonstrate what is, of course, to be expected, that they're normal people, and they have when they have the same opportunities everybody else to do something a little bit different, they actually, most of them, do better than the rest of the people on these things. So good on it for not accepting these stereotypes. We shouldn't take these stereotypes, even for people like you got your boss or your colleague at work, and you think to yourself, oh, I know what they're like at home, and often that's not the case. They're not like that, and the only way to do that is by talking to them. And
yeah, definitely.
I love
Conversations are important.
this thing here. I've been quiet because I've just been sitting back watching, like an episode of Women at Warp or something. It was great to listen to Rhiannon and Kennedy just thrashing it out there, putting the word to rights. And I'm an expert at listening to women put the word to rights because, I've got my spouse girl and 3 daughters and a granddaughter, and I'm surrounded by females. So
you've been blessed.
I was going to say, you are.
I'm blessed, and
I've
learned to be quiet and listen until I'm told to speak. Like I did on the show.
We love to see it.
and to take what you've learned back to your community.
Exactly.
So that you can inform the others who are not as privileged as yourself to have such strong, important women surrounding you and influencing your growth as a better human being.
And it's great to see that, like Kennedy saying, you were brought up with your mum watching the TOS, the original CDs, and then you go through all the other CDs, and as geeks, and I think we're all geeks here, okay? Let's accept that.
I think that's a fair evaluation.
That's guilty as
geeks
charged.
are drawn to things like sci-fi programs and stuff, but especially Star Trek, because it's made up, but it could all be real. Like say Buffy, which you mentioned, and I think Kennedy Cal's going to have a question for you to join a Buffy thing later on, because we've been talking about that recently. But the Star Trek thing, it always comes back to this. It's not like there's no magic thing. It's always like a real situation that has to be resolved, and it's always reflective. And I'm always amazed to come back when you say you go through it, and you had Voyager, which I'm sure was very pertinent to you, because possibly not because there was a female lead. I don't know. Is that a thing because there was the female captain? Was that a reason why it was a pertinent, or just the timeline? That
It was, it took me growing up to appreciate Janeway a little bit more. I think what resonated most with me at that point in my life with Voyager was the fact that they were figuring it out by themselves on their way through unknown circumstances, and everybody was just doing the best they could. And as a preteen whose parents were divorcing, like, that whole innovation despite isolation thing really grounded me in ways that I wasn't expecting, and also really probably wasn't always aware of until later on as well. But also seeing, not that Next Generation or Deep Space Nine weren't inclusive, because they were, especially Deep Space Nine. But seeing Tuvok and Harry Kim and B'Elanna exist in their intersections while in a Starfleet uniform gave me this sense of validation that you can come from wherever, be skilled in whatever. It's your commitment to the goal that is what will distinguish you from others. And I just needed that because I knew who I was. I'm 12 years old. You know what I mean? Like, who knows anything at 12?
Yeah, I know you.
Curious you should say that, because you do. You mentioned something there. I can't remember what it was, but the appeal of the Star Trek things going through, that they're always doing something. And Discovery at the time, a lot of people were against Discovery. A lot of traditional Star Trek fans who'd liked everything before that. But even myself, I thought I liked it, but it wasn't the best. But then I sat down and examined some of the things in it and thought, is this true to the original? Are they holding up the ideals? Yes, they are holding up the ideals. Are they pushing out, making us kind of push the boundaries a little bit? Yes, they are, for sure. And that's what the original one was all about. And every time I see a new series coming out and I go back to that, I think I'm always amazed that the first series ever actually got on, because they pushed so many boundaries, but it hit the spot for people all across the world, adults at the time, but also youngsters. And I think any youngster, you're saying 12-year-old, you don't know who you are. There's a phrase, give me the child at 7 and I'll show you the man. But I think kids, and especially geeks for some reason, can always see, kids can see what's right and wrong a lot more easily before you're programmed into your adult life. And almost any kid watching the likes of Star Trek can see what's right and wrong, and they see an example of somebody saying that's wrong, even if they're living in a circumstance where everything is wrong around them, and they're gradually accepting it. They see something like that and they go, no, I was right. That kind of stuff is wrong.
I think it's amazing to have that kind of, validation in the media around you, isn't it? It's like as we're talking about, like, formative things, actually, to have your kids watching something like Star Trek, where it is like, there's complex themes, there's a lot of emotions going on, there's a lot of different bits, but actually for them to be able to say, hey, you know what, this is a good message and this is something that you can carry forward, it is important to be able to see that. Yeah, it's great that it gives that opportunity for, as we said, like, such a range of ages. You could watch it through your whole life and see something different.
And because it's an established property, like, it's the gift that keeps on giving. So someone being new to it I envy folks who are new to Star Trek about now, because you've like 50 some years of content to catch up on. Like,
I've got so much to do.
For the first time, like, watching Next Generation's Best of Both Worlds cliffhanger episodes
for the very first time.
Like, people nowadays will never know what that summer was like. That summer was awful, because Like, what do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you
He's going to fire up a
what do
card.
you mean?
What's happening?
What is it? What do you
We
mean?
we were all terribly vexed.
I just
all of us.
Do you not find though that sometimes this is a slight tangent, but that with like streaming services and things like now, you're never gonna get that quite like that genuine like shock value of hang on a second, I'm not gonna be able to find this out for another week. Like what? How am I supposed to live? Like what happens in between now and
People who've
then?
grown up in the modern era of, media distribution will never know what it's like to wait a week unless that's the release format of the series. So, you have to constantly keep it moving. You have to. If even contextually within Star Trek, if people weren't constantly pushing boundaries, how would the Federation have been able to A, rope in the Klingons, B, rope in the Romulans to defeat the Dominion? How are they going to do that without being willing to compromise to an extent?
Yeah.
How are we getting home from the literal opposite side of everything that we know in this ship that's a prototype and can get sick, by the way,
by cheese?
With a
Cheese will make
Talaxian guide.
Yeah.
Half of my crew are criminals. How are we going to do this unless we're all willing to compromise? I forget the tangent I was going on there.
Great, I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Dang it!
Right,
it'll come back
okay.
to me eventually.
I think it is. I think the sort of the root of
the
it,
necessity of being welcome to change, being comfortable,
welcome
being
to
uncomfortable,
and that kind of propulsion.
Yes, and perpetually being ready to have your mind getting changed, because otherwise you grow stagnant. And Carl Sagan put it best: extinction is the rule, survival is the exception. You either go extinct because you can't keep up, or you survive.
Did you guys hear that? Kennedy just said Carl Sagan, never ever even more.
I love Carl Sagan. I love Carl Sagan.
Oh, that was a good
billions,
we could read the phone book and it would contain multitudes. Millions and billions of words. Deeply soothing.
I've got the Carl Sagan, the original book of Cosmos, signed by Carl on the inside. It's brilliant.
Ooh.
I might have written that by myself and forged it, but it's still signed by him.
I mean, tomatoes.
Yeah. I suppose there's a very simple question for you. If you could recommend one episode for everyone to watch.
Can I interject at some point?
Ooh.
All right. I think we'll go to Kennedy first. Put all the pressure on our guest.
The first one.
My fiance's my fiance's in the backyard listening to us and was just like,
all right,
when you asked me that.
Well, my answer's always easy to this.
Is this one episode the introductory episode to Trek for this person? Are they new?
I don't know. An episode you think everyone should watch?
There's a bunch of questions. There's a bunch of questions because there's probably
maybe if we
see, for me, if it's someone who's never seen it, I just want to show
take me out
the
to
brilliance on this. For me, it'd be Far Beyond the Stars.
As a baseball person,
Far Beyond the Stars, because it's just monumentally amazing, that episode.
Oh, for sure. That's a good one.
And like when Avery Brooks breaks down at the end, I am in floods of tears.
That would be the second episode I would suggest to people.
Like that, I cannot keep it all together when he has that breakdown at the end.
Yeah. Far Beyond the Stars is...
you could probably relate to what the characters are going through there more than we would. So, yeah. Martin, we'll go with you then.
Far Beyond the Stars is so poignant that it's difficult. No, it's all fine. Far Beyond the Stars is, I think, I consider that to be the Deep Space Nine movie, since they never got a proper one. It is so poignant and so, nail on the head that it can be difficult to watch at times because you want to watch it as a period piece. It's immaculate, right? Everybody is just hitting it out of the park. But everybody is so good at it that, I have difficulties looking at Rene Auberjonois the same. I have difficulties looking at Jeffrey Combs and oh geez,
Is Mark
Mark
Alamo?
Alamo's performances on the heels of that, because they were so good. Their bigoted ways were so convincing that it felt like, are you even acting? Like, what's up? So like knowing that they're, not like that is comforting. But yes, that is definitely on the list of things that people should get into. I say second because it is heavy, right? And it's not a casual watch, and it shouldn't be treated as such. So I like to start with Take Me Out to the Hollow Suite because it's educational. You learn about baseball. It's fun, and we love a good episode with whimsy, especially in the middle of a war.
Got it.
And I've got to say, just
let's go Niners. And
no, sorry, I've just got to say this. And Worf's death to the opposition is just priceless.
Perfect. Did you know that Max Grodenchik actually was a semi-professional ball player and was so good that they asked him to start playing left-handed, and he was still too much. Like, he was out there doing batting practice and like running drills before rehearsals, and people were like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "It's baseball. You gotta warm up. What are you doing?" What do you mean? What am I doing?
I love that.
So I just like them taking this very American thing and applying it to the future as a vehicle for distraction from very real, very heavy issues that all of these characters are experiencing in different ways, and just giving them an opportunity to play and to explore and to fail and to get better and to bond. And so what? We got our asses handed to us. So what?
And I think it just brings it like almost like that kind of relatable element back. It's like, yeah, they're in all of these things that us in this century might not, it's kind of still out of reach. It feels like this futuristic, but it's even like, the same as us watching stuff about things that happened hundreds of years ago. You go, we're just people, and they were just trying to get by half the time, and the rest of the time trying to do the right thing mostly. Like, it's just that kind of,
for sure.
It's a nice connection element.
If can Kira Nerys overthrow a fascist government? Yes.
Yeah.
Can she destroy people that are 3 times her size just because they looked at her wrong? Yes.
Yeah.
Can she get a hit to save her life? No. She cannot, and that is okay.
It's okay. Multifaceted.
Yes. Particularly I like that episode because it teaches people that it's okay to fail. Like, you cannot get better without failure, especially as women and being Black and just being in a marginalized community. We are consistently taught to not accept failure because the stakes are against us in so many other areas that you don't have time. Okay, you made a mistake. Cool. Learn from it immediately. Don't make it again.
Don't do it again, because if you do it again,
right. And it's unrealistic. It can act as a, it's an advantage in certain instances, but it can also be a disadvantage because of all of these other things. So
it doesn't allow you that space to acknowledge you feel. It's like this kind of, there's no then breathing room. It's like, okay, you've done this, that's it. You move on, you do it, and you do it better next time, rather than like allowing that space for a little bit of like how you might feel about, what I mean, like kind of the feelings within that, I guess.
For sure.
That's true. We're encouraged to be all. You watch programs like The Bourne Identity, and you think you gotta learn fast, move on from your mistakes, don't make them again. But in reality, human beings are quite slow learners. We like to make mistakes lots of times until it really hurts before we learn from it and move on a little bit.
Yeah,
for sure.
100%.
So I'm gonna put that question to
I have a question
Martin
for you all. It's not Trek related, but it is.
Carry on. Oh, the Steely is quite
No,
bad.
go ahead. What were you saying?
I was just going to put the question to Martin and Rhiannon about the one episode of Trek you would recommend to someone. If they just said, "What's the Star Trek?" and you had to give them an episode to watch.
Now, mine is a very short answer, and it is very simple. And it is because it was Data's dream, and it was when Spot was sat in the captain's chair. And I remember this, like, just as a child, I really, really vividly remember it. And I just remember seeing Spot sat in the chair and thinking, oh, the cat! To the point where I have a ginger tomcat now. His name is Hamish, but he's entirely inspired. He's not called Spot because he's a he, but like, so that's just just a totally emotional aspect.
All right, that works.
I just love seeing the cat being such a cat, like sitting in the captain's chair, being like, "Yeah, this is my seat." I'm like, "Yeah." So it's just a purely emotional one for me, I'm afraid.
I always, when the ship was undergoing, duress, either like engine failure or any type of whatever the inertial dampeners were compromised, I was always, always, always worried about Spot. Because what do you mean? Like,
can't open the doors. What do you mean?
Where does Spot hide when things go left? Like,
I think she just
is she okay? Because Data's not good at feelings, so like. But I just worry for Spot sometimes.
Although she is not sentient and she does not comprehend,
I just, I worry for Spot.
Consider you a true and valued friend. I could cry.
I worry about Jones on Alien. Yeah. Don't bring your cat to space, guys.
But they must be pretty hardy, Like obviously they've not got anything to chase around. So
don't bring your cat to space.
I'll remember.
Archer should have brought that beagle out there. Yeah. Honestly, where was he going for walks? Who was cleaning up after this? Do we really want to tax our environmental systems with pet matter? Do we really want that?
You hear that, Hamish? You're not coming to space, okay?
Don't bring your cat to space.
Let's see. Talking about good choice for a space pet, O'Brien probably had the best one, the tarantula. Said that's very low maintenance. I would have very easy to keep in space, I would imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so Martin, your one episode you could recommend anyone.
That's almost like asking somebody what's their favourite song. It depends what mood you're in and how many 100,000 you have. And to say your one episode of Star Trek, I'd just say, well, watch the whole series 3 times and then we'll start talking about it, But I can tell you the one it's not. Tasha Yar going into the black slime, and it's too soon to talk about it, so I can't talk about it anymore. That's enough. It's too soon.
That episode, frickin' Argus. What a jerk face. What a sad sack. Like, I hope you evaporate, and I hope it's slow. Like, I hope the boiling point is so low that you feel every single solitary second of your evisceration. Because what is wrong with you? Why would you do that?
I hold the scriptwriter responsible because it was far too soon. They built her up as a main character and then pulled the rug. Don't talk about it. That's enough. Move on.
Well, here's how you honor Tasha. Do you know why that happened?
Probably she had got another job or something, did she? In real life?
No. Denise Crosby was immensely fed up and frustrated with the fact that she didn't have a lot to do. And all of it was, and when she did have substantial screen time, it was extremely sexualized. And she just had a lot of problematic interactions, behind the scenes and in the writer's room specifically, like developing her character. And she just elected to leave. And not for nothing, Gates McFadden left after the first season for the same reason. She was tired of the same thing. So, and I believe that's why Jennifer Lien, who played Kess, left as well. So, like, learning and oh my God, I'm forgetting Terry Farrell. That's why she left. Because Brandon Braga and them, they would march her into the office when, how Jadzia's uniform during the wartime grays was explicitly tight on her. It looked like she was poured into that uniform. They would bring her in for costume fittings with different sizes of water bra to determine which look was appropriate for the screen and which one wasn't. That's why she left. So, like, you have every right to be upset about Tasha. Tasha deserved a lot better than that. And honestly, so did everybody else that I mentioned too. When you take creative control out of the hands of one specific demographic and include other people, intersectional diversity in infinite combinations is the only way we can do better. Justice for Tasha Yar.
Absolutely.
Sometimes as well, like and I think maybe sort of in the same same universe, but like sometimes the sexualizing of a character can be an empowering thing.
Sure.
And it's like, I remember, again, I think this was an episode you guys were talking about the man trap, and with the with Ahura and the really, really hot guy. Forget his name, I apologize. And it's like, but sometimes like not having like an asexuality in a character, like a sexualizing of a character, can be like it can be an interesting thing and an engaging thing with the plot and the people and things like that. But actually, like, that's not the whole thing. That's not the whole plot. That's not the reason why that character's there, and it's certainly not why that actor is being put through. Being put through that in their job. Like, so there's ways to do that are engaging, and rather than damaging to both, fictional, sort of like fictional members as well as the cast.
Sure. Like a character can be sexualized, but if that's the only element of their entire personality, then like, it's just not good storytelling.
No, you've
missed it. To coin a phrase from the neckbeard crowd, it's just poor writing.
Yeah.
Bad writing. Bad writing.
Because there's no writing involved. There's just water balloon bras, and that is not writing.
That's just not appropriate in any circumstance.
I mean, it's true that the human species is driven by sexual desire, and the positive and the minus, the yin and the yang, and that's a huge part of life, consciously and subconsciously. So it would be wrong not to have the odd sexy character in it, by which I mean female as well as male. But it was when I was at a convention one time and Terry Farrell was there, and it's only when you're there and you hear them talking kind of, off screen, off the record, and she was talking about these kind of problems of not getting the same pay and asking why and just being blown off for it, and the same way. But I really want an answer, and like, you get what you're given kind of thing, so clear off, you're a woman, stuff you. But I've heard that guys quite like watching sexy females, like, like say Seven of Nine or Sequoia Green, but that girls don't really like watching a sexy guy character. Is that true, ladies?
I mean, it depends on what their identity is. If she's not into men at all, then
I'm looking into your eyes now. Tell the truth.
I think it just it kind of just depends, though, isn't it? Because like there's certain fandoms and there's certain things that like I'll be looking at. I'll go like objectively, I'll be like, that is a handsome looking person, like whether it's a man or a woman. Like I myself am bisexual, so it's like actually I can play into a lot of sort of roles within that. I'm sorry if you can hear my cat meowing, by the way. Hamish caught wind that he wasn't invited to space, and he's
Hamish
now
was like, "What do you mean I can't come to space? Hold up, wait a minute."
He's now complaining about it. So I'm sorry if you can hear him.
Where do I apply for an appeal?
Literally, he wants to see all the people in space. That's what he's about. But yeah, so I think it's like it's okay for that to be a part of your experience of the show, because as you say, like again, not to keep harking it back, but because I watched Star Trek as a child and I've then refound it again as an adult, right? So there's a huge part of my probably quite informative years that's not going to play into. But you can watch something and be like, that is a good looking person, or like I find that person like sort of engaging in a sexual way, like to visually to look at. But I think as well, so many elements comes into what you find a person attractive, right? It's their, for me personally, it's their empathy, it's their intelligence, it's their sort of it's all those kind of like layers. And so I think to sort of say, oh, you're never going to find any of these people, or to like there's just so many layers in that, just not just is that person generic, or maybe generically is the wrong word to look at, but like to look at them and go, you are hot. It's also like we need to maybe deconstruct what we consider that to be, as well as in a conversation of is it sort of the physical attributes about that person you find attractive, and why? Like, has your opinion of that been, for example, whitewashed? Like, why are you finding this person attractive more than this person, or what is it that you find engaging? So actually, for some people who don't necessarily experience sexual desire in the same way, they might find emotional things more appealing. Like, totally depends on the audience, I guess.
Yeah. But I think the bigger underlying catalyst for that, though, Martin, is the fact that feminine sexuality has been villainized for historic amounts of time there is always an element of risk. There's always an element of danger to being quote unquote attractive, to being a sexualized individual, because there are usually menfolk who will see that as a threat, see that as a reason to come to your house, see that as a reason to, berate you in the comments, see that as a reason to conduct themselves in very aggressive and violent ways just because you look a certain way.
That doesn't necessarily fit there.
Yeah, the risk is greater for us to be perceived as sexual than it is for men to be perceived as sexual. I was just watching the documentary about the fall of Abercrombie and Fitch and how aggressively white it was, and how it really was kind of like gay art in a really cool subversive way, even if it wasn't for the right reasons. All of those models, all of those male models specifically, they don't have to worry about somebody following them home because they saw them in a magazine or on an ad somewhere.
Huge.
And, putting them in real physical danger because they're found attractive.
Yeah.
So, there's social elements to it that prevent the reverse from occurring as well.
Yeah. If you want one really, really good example of what you just said, is the Neverender Story and the tale of the two child stars of that, the Atreyu character and the one who played the Empress. And it's very disturbing what she had to go through. And she was only 11 at the time. That was freaky when I watched that documentary about it.
Yeah, I watch a lot of pro wrestling now. And every once in a while, I watched it back in the 90s for a hot second, and then I stopped, and then I came back last year. We hear every once in a while about athletes in the women's division having to deal with someone showing up at their house, or at the training center, or at their car. But you don't hear about people in the men's division having to worry about someone showing up at their house, showing up at the gym, showing up at their car. So yes, you can overtly sexualize a male, a mass presenting body, but it doesn't come with the danger that it comes along with, objectifying the opposite. And that's just the binary, right? That's not even
it's not even touching that's the
not
extra bits on the outside.
That's not including, aro ace people, that's not including gender fluid people or even non-binary individuals. All of their experiences are going to be different when it comes to perceiving sexualization, because the risk is different when it comes to what that visibility can subject them to.
Obviously, as well, I think at this point it's always probably worth mentioning that it's not to say that there isn't any members of the male cast or people that will go through this, and maybe it does go underreported. There'll be some kind of underreporting possibly because of the perception of how they would be treated. So basically being this person followed me home, and people being oh, great for you. You know what I mean? So it's not that actually it can't also be harmful the other way. So it's just better for everyone to be aware of I will also sort of agree with Kennedy that I think that the potential risk and harm might be greater for sort of the femme presenting cast members and actors, but it's just a kind of keeping this culture of being open, and that we are here to support people, and we're yes, we can find them, we can find these people attractive, but equally they're people, and you need to respect their space and the fact that they're actually actors at work doing a job. It's also kind of it's
But not to add another layer to it, Martin, that's not to say that male sexualization and objectification can't happen and that it can't be detrimental. Justin Bieber is a perfect example of that. He was a child when he was popular, and to go back and watch how women were interacting with him was
terrifying.
Abhorrent. And if he was a little girl or a teenage girl and men were reacting to them in that way, it would have been an immediate problem, or it should have been an immediate problem.
Yeah, it should have been an immediate problem.
And that's not to say that those individuals don't, experience trauma from being violated in that way. But it's also part of the issue, right? If you're socializing male and mass presenting people, rather assigned male at birth people, to perceive sexual advances as, something that you're entitled to, both giving and receiving. And then if a woman talks to you in that way, like, soak it up because it's great, whether you want it or
Yeah, it's
not.
like
And
whether
it's
you
just
want it
like,
or
that's
not.
not,
Yeah,
that's
that's all wrong too.
not
It's
okay.
Yeah.
like,
Like,
no, they
and
need to be able to feel safe in their own boundaries and to be able to say like, hey, this is, but yeah, it is a deeply complex issue.
but like having conversations like this are important because you never know who is
who might
listening
hear
and
it and
never,
go, good
yeah,
point.
you
Yeah,
know,
like who's never considered it.
it's uncomfortable conversations. I used to really shy away from them. But as I've gotten older, like I kind of lean into them now, and you can have a uncomfortable conversation with compassion. But you can't have an uncomfortable conversation if you're going into it already closed off. So you
if you
just
kind of got
gotta,
your decision made about how you feel about that, if you kind of go in, actually guys, like I've had this thought, like has anyone else thought about this, or is my thinking on this wrong? And I think that actually, and especially like if we as ourselves right now are putting ourselves in a public space where people can hear us talking, and that could be quite impactful if someone was to then be like, actually I don't quite agree with what you said there, and you go like, you know what, so right, thank you for taking that opportunity to educate me on what I have said, and if I wasn't aligning, because I think a lot of the time if people are open to these conversations and they're having them, the chances are they actually want to learn from the wider community around them, and that they are, it's kind of, I think it generally signals that you're kind of open to that level of conversation and that you're kind of like here to talk about it. And it's nice because, as you say, the more you put out into the world, the more positivity and open-mindedness you put out there, the more it's going it's going to kind of drip feed, and people are going to start wanting to do that more and feeling like that's a safe thing to do.
Yeah.
And we can only all ever benefit from that. So
yeah, and
that's
if the people who don't want to benefit from something like that, like I'm a firm believer that we need to be making people who hold bigoted points of views uncomfortable in society, because that form of thinking is not civilized thinking, and you don't get to benefit from all of the perks of living in a civilization if you don't conduct yourself with civility. So, if we hold these conversations, difficult ones particularly, especially in public places, in mixed crowds, and it upsets people, it ruffles feathers, then like that's the point. Go home and think about it, or go home and be mad about it. Whatever. Maybe you'll grow from this, maybe you won't. But I am especially the way things have been going in this country, I am all the way done with being civil towards people who will vote your rights away, towards people who will discriminate against you in the workplace. I'm not about making those people have comfortable lives so they can exist and continue to perpetuate multiple forms of violence.
Yeah. Definitely.
Sorry, we lost you for a second there, Martin. I was answering your question.
Sorry.
It was very
Can
thoughtful
you hear
and
me?
insightful.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah, we can.
It's my own fault.
I was going to say, we just said.
I'm going to pretend there was a technical difficulty, but in the interests of everybody learning from one person's mistake, my computer wouldn't cope with the live streaming. It's coped with the recorded podcast. But that's why I changed to my phone at the beginning, because my computer's too old to cope with the live streamings. On the phone, the phone came up with a little symbol saying 7% battery, change to battery saver. So I pressed okay, battery saver, and everything went black. But
oh dear,
I'm back now.
Well, we were just saying thank you for kind of presenting that question, because it's great question to be able to open that kind of discussion up, and thank you for doing that.
Yeah, I have a question for you all.
Woohoo!
I have several questions actually. I'm going to whittle it down to two. I'm going to ask the pertinent one last. Selfishly, I don't know if any of you are TikTok people, but there was a trend going around very recently about the Black Scottish community. And this guy who's a fitness content person, somehow one of his TikToks made it onto everybody's For You page, and Black Americans were like, what? We over there too? And it was just so, because those of us who know. right? But because of American education systems, not everybody has access to everything. Intentionally, by the way, they do it on purpose. We're not ignorant. We're just propagandized. It's, you know, it's a thing.
God, yeah.
Some of us are ignorant. I don't want to say that. Most of us just went to American schools where they don't teach you really anything important at all.
English schools have similar views of their own history.
Colonialism.
Yeah.
Could somebody refresh me as to what this TikTok content had?
So it was just a guy who is a fitness guy, and he went on his TikTok and was talking about, I guess it was the end of summer holiday and how it always feels like it comes too soon. Mundane TikTok-y thing to say. I mean, everybody on Black TikTok was like, who is he? Where can we find him? Is he hungry? Can we send him a sandwich? What is going on? Is he the only one? Is it like Highlander? What's happening? So much so to the point where Roy Wood Jr., who's a comedian and political commentary for The Daily Show now, went to Scotland specifically. He went to Edinburgh first and was like, I don't see any Black people. I feel like you all lied to me. Where are all the Black people at? And everybody sent him to Glasgow. And they ran in, like, they orchestrated it and they ran into each other. I haven't watched the conversation because I wanted to sit down and, like, you know, give it my full attention. But I am all about the preservation of indigenous cultural groups and diasporic cultural groups as well. Not only is it, you know, does it challenge everything about colonialism and imperialism, but it also is an accurate representation of humanity. So to see this man just living his best Black Scottish life get all of this attention, and then for all of these other Black Scottish content creators to get all of this attention suddenly as well, and for them to be like, wow, this is so positive and reaffirming and like wholesome. Did I just find the other half of my family? What's going on? And it's just like, So like, if you aren't aware, Scotland is kind of on this radar of American perception. And if it ends up really well, because so far it has been, you know, yay. If it somehow goes south, because it can, sorry in advance. Because America.
Yeah. Can I just ask, does this content creator guy from Scotland look something like a super physique guy from a Porridge advert?
Oh, I haven't looked so far into his content to see what he looks like physically because I'm engaged. But you know, he looks like kind of like Sterling K. Brown. Someone started calling him Scotty K. Brown for a little bit there. It was actually, I don't know what that is. Like, this one is a lawnmower, I guess. Sorry, guys. Yeah, it was such a cool peek into Scottish culture. You know what I mean?
Seen
like,
quite
we
a
don't
few
get it a
people
lot.
sort of like reposting it.
Yeah.
And like asking, like, you know, if people did like cookouts and stuff. And we were like, the weather isn't notorious for that here. But like, it was interesting. And there was a couple of sort of, I don't even know if they were necessarily would consider themselves content creators, but Black people living in Scotland who were just like kind of saying like discussing having had Americans ask them where they get yams from and if they do cookouts and things like that. And it was just like really this them going like sort of things that they sort of associate with their Blackness and their sort of, and to see and they were like, it's interesting because like these are things that we also have, but we do this differently. And it was like, I recently
learned why that is. Ryan Coogler was doing a whole bunch of research for Sinners. And specifically the intersection of Black Americanism and Irish Americanism in that point in time specifically, but also overall. And he was talking about his time on the African continent when he was preparing for Black Panther and sitting with all these cultural groups and, you know, learning as much as he can. He learned that the cookout is a thing. Like it happens in a lot of West African cultures just inherently. You have the folks who can cook cooking. You have the elders on the porch or, playing with the kids. You've got the kids running around doing whatever. You've got somebody on a grill separate from the folks who are cooking. You've someone on a grill, an open flame. And just the camaraderie of that is such, I think, a diasporic strength, because it obviously made it over here to America. It made it to the Caribbean.
Mhm.
It apparently happens in Scotland as well, but that's because, all of the folks who live in the UK or who are from West Africa initially, they all have their own version of the cookout. So
Yeah.
it comes with them and just looks different because
It
everybody's
just looks
Scottish now.
different.
Yeah.
It's
It's a very
amazing.
powerful thing.
Definitely.
I'm just going to
Especially
add.
because
Oh.
the parallels between the cookout.
So I was just going to add for that Black Scottish TikTok. There's one TikTok group you should really look at, Black Scottish Adventurers. I just want to briefly say they did the best video ever. They got a comment saying,
suggested that. Yes.
I don't know if you saw what they did. They got this comment saying,
I
"Get
heard.
back on the boat," and then they just said, "We did, and we're here in Lewis and Harris. This is living." And I was thought that was the best response they could have ever given. And there's like videos
Just
of them on the beaches
on your
here.
own
They were
boat.
they're great. They're good.
Shut up.
But I hate to cut you off, but we're kind of running.
awesome.
We've run
I
well
love that.
over, but it's in the best possible way. So just big thank you to Kennedy. Just where can people find you if they want to reach out or find out more about you?
Huge thank you.
So, I am no longer on the internet.
All right.
I no longer have social medias. I unplugged completely. I
Woohoo.
took the red pill.
I did try to find. I did that as part of my sort of research. I tried to find it. I was like, you know what?
No, it's-
Unplug. I was
I
like,
realized-
unplug. This is great.
I realized that I had been online since I was 12 years old. And as someone in their 40s, I needed to unplug. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
However, I do still produce and write a podcast called Your Away Team. You can find that everywhere that you love podcasts. It is an in-universe fiction. It's more akin to a radio drama following two temporal officers as they accidentally develop a temporal drive, wrestle with the ethical complications that go with that, and use we call them data files, episodes of the show, or films in some cases, as points of reference to cite how to move with other temporal incursions. My co-host is a professional cosplayer named Tony Ray. If you're in Dragon Con right now, you know exactly who he is. He's phenomenal. And, I'm looking forward to ending that. We're in a bit of a extended hiatus because creative things and also life gets in the way. He's got kids and stuff. He's dad.
Gotta let it be. Gotta let it be organic. Gotta let it be organic.
But it's been cool. It's been a little frustrating, writing this, distant future somehow in universe thing, and then somehow Discovery catches up with it and aligns with that was mind blowing. Not to use a tired phrase, but I think it's a solid body of work in that it's different than other podcasts and that it's not quite a fanfic, not quite a podcast, somewhere in between and also separate. So Your Away Team still has an Instagram. You can find us there. And if you wanted to reach out, you can, I guess, yourawayteam@gmail.com. That's a great way.
Okay.
There you go. So I am
Can't wait
kind
to
of on the
listen.
internet.
Awesome. Right. Just thank you
Thank
very
you
much
so
for
much
that.
for having me, you all. Gorvmag,
Oh.
this has been
No,
That's
No
been
problem
so
at all.
great.
amazing.
And
and
thank you for such a lovely introduction into being on a podcast.
yes,
It's been
Look
lovely
at
for
you.
me.
Look at you.
It's been lovely for
I
me and
honestly
Callum
think
to,
Mark-
to listen to Rhiannon and Kennedy doing a mini woman at
yeah.
work.
I think of if you ever get up to the Hebrides for Ocon, I think people would pay to listen to you and Rhiannon chat for a good hour or so. But never know, we might make that happen one year at Ocon.
Oh, trust me. If when we get to Ireland and Ocon is still happening, we will definitely
Please
make the trip
Yes.
because
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm about it. I love niche, nuanced, marginalized nerd representation.
Yes,
Oh,
that's
awesome.
us.
We love to
That's
see it.
us. Oh.
We love to see it.
Yeah. And
Very cool.
what else was I
I
going to say?
really thought that
cool.
Kennedy, when she said she had some questions for the Scottish contingent, was going to ask the kilt question.
What? I'm like, line with the artistic
question?
pause. The artistic line. I'm like,
But you can't find out the answer
was
to that until you come here in person. Sorry. Yeah.
I didn't.
What is that a kilt thing? I know
I was
about
going to
the
say,
kilt
is it the
thing.
kilt question? Oh, I see.
No, because my
Yeah.
fiance be wearing kilts when we go to fancy places, and everybody gives him compliments, and he hates it because he doesn't like attention, but he looks great. So, like, I know
It's
about
like
the kilt.
isn't that difficult, isn't it? When you're like, yeah, but you look so good, and they're like, please don't look at me, and you're like, but we must. So we
Yeah,
must.
we went out of our way to coordinate kilts that had colors that I had in my wardrobe as well, so we match. So people are always like, "Oh my god, yes!" And he's like, "Don't look at me," and I'm like, "No,
Yes.
look, you
We
look
did
great."
that for our engagement
Yeah.
photos. It was the
Right.
business.
Okay. Really good. I'm sorry. I'm really going to wrap this up. I think we're
Amazing.
definitely there will be a follow up with Kennedy at some point. I think we can't.
Okay.
I think Rhiannon, you'll be desperate for that yourself at some point to follow up this.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, please.
Absolutely. That
I'm
would
here
be
for
amazing.
any podcast questions or anything that you all might have for sure.
All right.
Stunning.
Okay.
Fantastic. Well, I'll head off skis, guys, but
Yeah. With that, thank you, everyone. We've got some good episodes coming up on the show. I think our next one's going to be the Buffy deep dive, which I think it's just going to be chaos, that one.
I'm
And
so
then-
ready.
And
I
then
am
we've
so
also,
I was born ready.
and also,
Come back, wait.
Did you see Kennedy's eyes light up and go sideways there when you said that?
yeah.
I'm literally looking at my autograph photo of David Boreanaz right now. Please let me come back for that.
All right. We have to. But thank you so much. It's been fantastic, and we'll see the rest of. And thank you everyone for listening and watching, and we'll see you again. Bye.
See you again. Lots of love. Bye.